Hey guys, how's it going? So here's a guide on how to beat Spice Islands on Chimps. If you haven't beat it already, and you're looking for a way on how to beat it, well, all you have to do is follow this simple guide. Shouldn't be too hard to accomplish, doesn't rely on luck too much. With that said, let's just jump right into strategy because the hard parts mostly come in the early game. So yeah, Spice Islands is a mostly water map, so you're gonna have to change up your strategy a bit compared to how you would beat normal maps, which have a lot of land space. So I'm going to use that water space to my advantage. So I'm going to start off with a boat. And the placement is really important here because you only get 650 starting cash on Chimps. And the boat will basically take up almost all that 650 cash. So you won't be able to like place any other towers in the meantime. So what I did first was place a boat in this spot. And this spot is pretty important. If I were to do this over, I probably would have put this a little bit more to the northwest. And the reason I wanted to put it there is so that, first of all, it can hit two parts of the track. So one in the first loop, and then again come the second loop. And I also want the dart to be shooting straight down that second loop. Like once it enters the second loop, and then when it exits, I want the darts to be chasing in a way so that the darts will still shoot in a straight line to get the maximum popping power. Placement does matter here, so make sure you got your boat in a really nice spot. But aside from just the boat, you also notice I placed a dart monkey on the very last island over there. I think on round 7 or 8 or so. And that's also very important. You want to put it where I put it so that it can hit, you know, the top of the track, and then when the balloons go on a downwards path, you want the monkey to be in range of that. So yeah, it's important because you can't solo with this boat for very long. You're gonna need another tower. The one dart it's shooting is not enough. So you can't save up like $300 for that faster shooting. You gotta go for that giant monkey first, and then you can start upgrading your boat. So what I did with my boat is I upgraded it twice on the top path. So the first one's the faster shooting, and then the second one gives you, it allows your buccaneer to shoot 2 darts. So it'll basically do 2 layers of damage for less price than if you were to buy another boat. And I don't think there's very much micro needed in order to like not leak any lives here. I think you could just leave the boat on first because again, since it's chasing when it's going away, it's still in a pretty optimal position to, you know, pop a lot of balloons. But yeah, the next step after that, since we have so much water space and we want to save our land space for, you know, land towers, don't want to place any low-level land towers there because, again, it's Chimps mode, we can't sell it. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a boat where I originally wanted to place my first boat, but I ended up placing it a little bit lower. But this time I got that area covered. So yeah, I think I upgraded that one to a grape shot boat. Although in hindsight, I don't think I should have went for the grape boat over there. Just because if you do go that grape boat path, you're not going to have any camo detection on your boats, because eventually what you want the boats to become late game is aircraft carriers or 5th tier carriers. You're gonna get at least one of those. So compared to BT5, aircraft carriers are really good in this game. You want to get them because they do a lot of damage to like everything on the screen, even though it's like slightly inaccurate in a sense, kind of like a monkey ace. I mean, it even isn't an upgrade themselves. They do spawn mini monkey aces, but it's just really good on a map like this where, you know, the balloons basically go across the entire track. Also, I'm going to use Gwendolyn for this one. I am not sure if Gwendolyn's entirely necessary. You could probably get away with any other hero, to be honest, aside from Sprecher Jones. Oben wouldn't be a bad choice. Quincy, not a bad choice either. Shouldn't make too much of a difference, but I'm just going to place it down anyways because again, it's very cheap to buy, and then you end up getting a lot more than it's worth without having to pay any money to upgrade the hero. It'll just upgrade itself for the rest of the game. But yes, what we're also going to do is we're going to drop an Alchemist down, which is going to synergize really well with the aircraft carriers. So if you didn't know already, the 4th tier Alchemist on the very top path, it's really good in combination with some towers, especially towers with like low pierce. So like for example, it's really good with the Ninja. You might have seen me use it a lot of times because in tandem with the Alchemist, it makes your Ninja basically twice as strong for very little cost. And it also basically has the same effect with like super monkeys and boats, because boats, they don't really have too high of a pierce either. So yeah, that's a strategy I'm gonna go for. Again, not much micro ability is required. You just have to make sure to slow down your game and follow exactly what I'm doing, because I'm 99% sure this will work for your game. And in the 1% it doesn't work for you, then I would recommend you actually turn the game off fast forward, because for some reason in this game, kind of similar to how BTD5 works, when you turn the game off fast forward, it seems to make your towers a lot stronger. I guess Ninja Kiwi never really found a perfect way to make it so that fast forward is exactly the same way as if you were not to put the game in fast forward. I don't know, just for some reason, maybe the projectiles don't spawn fast enough on fast forward or something like that. But yeah, that's what I've noticed. If you put the game off fast forward, your towers do seem to do a little better. So make sure to do that if you ever run into any trouble. So the next part of the strategy is actually to put my monkey submarine. You see on the first island over there, or right below the first island, you got its range basically covering a nice curve of the track, and you want to put that one to a 300, and that's basically going to act as your village. Now surprisingly in this game, DDTs actually get decamoized by the submarine. I didn't know that. I haven't actually tried that in Bloons Monkey City, if you guys play that game, where the DDTs were. But in this game, the submarine actually removes the camo status off of the DDTs, which is going to be really helpful, because that means I don't have to get camo detection for like all of my other towers. I can afford to like go for a more greedy path instead of opting to go for camo detection. Although in this game I still go for the camo detection upgrades anyways, because I don't entirely trust my submarine to decamo all of them, because like even though it's in a pretty nice spot where it gets a nice curve of the track, it's still very possible for like purple balloons to sneak by it. So I just want to play it really safe here. You might not have to do this, but I just did it in case, because again, it's CHIMPS mode. If I mess anything up come the late game, there's no going back, because you can't sell towers to build towers that you need to beat for like the next round. Because I'm telling you, when you get to like the round 90s, there are some rounds that are really hard and vastly different from the other. That is like, you have to change up your strategy a lot between certain rounds. So like, between 98, 99, and 100, all of those rounds are like vastly different. And you're gonna need to find a combination of towers that works for every single run of those rounds. Like, if you saw my Spice Islands Impossible video, you'll know how much trouble I had for the last 3 rounds. And that was when like the game was barely out, so at that point in time I didn't know how OP the Permaspike nor the Alchemist was, so I didn't go for either of those. Instead I went for a really weird strategy that ended up working. And it ended up working only because I was able to sell towers for specific rounds. So that I cannot do, so I have to be very careful this time. But anyways, now I've got a third boat up. This one's the aircraft carrier, and it's going to be the 5th tier boat that I'm going to get later on in the game, but I can't go for that yet. Gotta save up like $27,000 for it. It's a very expensive upgrade. Not sure if I'm going to be able to like go straight into that. But one good tip to keep in mind when you're playing CHIMPS mode is always save as much money as possible. Because like in the case you spend money on a certain upgrade and then it turns out next round you can't beat the round with that upgrade, there's a nice pause trick you can do where in the current round, if you're going to lose, you can press the settings button, go back home, join back the game, and it'll restart your game from the beginning of the round without any of the money spent during the round. So that's why you want to keep that money in hand. In case you mess up, you can still reverse your decision and choose to build other towers with that money. But if you end up spending the money before the round ends, then yeah, you're stuck with that upgrade for the rest of the game. Just a quick tip, although if you're following this guide like step by step, you shouldn't need to worry about that, because again, I assure you that this strategy will work. But yes, the next step is to get a Dark Knight up. So that's the 203 Super Monkey. Very cost efficient. Like, it's very reminiscent of the Robo Monkey spam that I used to do in BTD5. Me and a lot of others. Because Robo Monkey spam was just way too efficient. And it was also very easy to pull off. All you have to do is just place the Robo Monkey and then that's it, you're set. You're set for the next, like, 30 rounds or so. That's kind of the same thing with the Dark Knight. It's a little bit cheaper than the Robo Monkey, I believe. Also does a ton of damage to mob class balloons. Not quite the best versus like the balloon insides. That's where the aircraft carrier and its AoE comes in. also where the spike factory comes in as well, the permaspike. Although I don't have that as of yet. You don't really need the permaspike until like DDTs come in, because that's when your Dark Knight and your aircraft carrier is going to struggle. The DDTs are just way too fast. They don't really have that much health, but it's just they're so fast that you just can't pop them within the short length of this track. Even though this track isn't really that short, it's still gonna take a really long time for that DDT to pop. So that's why you pretty much absolutely need this permaspike for this strategy. I mean, I could try a strategy that doesn't rely on permaspike. In fact, that's probably better because I'm pretty sure Ninja Kiwi is gonna end up nerfing that permaspike. But yeah, I've got that 5th tier carrier up, $27,000, 1,000 times better than that 4th tier upgrade. And combine that with the Alchemist again, and then you get basically, I don't know, almost double the power. At least that's what some people have mentioned. But yes, here I am about to start with that Spike Factory at the very back. So this also goes back way to the early game where you place your Dart Monkey on that last island. So you gotta make sure that you have enough space, first and foremost, to fit your Spike Factory and a village. Like, as you see here, I put my Spike Factory just adjacent to the Dart Monkey. And then on top, I put my village, although I've had very little space at that point. I was actually kind of lucky to fit it in. But in the event that you end up messing up and you can't place both towers within that, like, island, the next thing you could do is remove the islands where the palm trees are. That's about $1,000. And then just place the Spike Factory and the village over there. You should have enough space for that. And you still should be able to follow this guide, even with removing those palm trees, because it's only $1,000. Honestly, $1,000 doesn't do very much come the late game. Now, speaking of money, the only reason I have this video is because Ninja Kiwi made an update to CHIMPS, which gave you $100 at the end of each round. And honestly, that just makes things basically 1,000 times easier. Now, this map was still actually possible before the CHIMPS buff that, like, didn't give you $100 per round. I believe there was somebody who posted a screenshot of them beating this on CHIMPS without the end of round cash. But now that you have the end of round cash, it makes it a lot easier. Definitely a lot easier for you to follow, because if I did not have that end of round cash, I would not have been able to start with that Buccaneer. I would not have been able to afford that Dart Monkey to, like, catch the last couple balloons that the Buccaneer didn't get. I would have to do something basically completely different, with a very low margin of error. But honestly, come the late game, $10,000 isn't really that much. It's still significant. Like, it could be the difference between life or death. But most importantly, it's all about that early game and surviving. Since the game starts at round 6, you got a lot less time to build up defense before the strong balloons come in. But yes, also if you've noticed, I am playing this on BlueStacks. You can see my little mouse on the screen. Just chilling there, sometimes moving about, checking my towers, pop counts and whatnot. We're kind of at the stage of the game right now where there's not really very much going on, or there's not much I have to do. By the way, I have this on fast forward, which is why we're already at like round 80 to 90 at this point in the game. I think overall it took me about a little over 40 minutes for this entire game to play out. But yes, I am playing on BlueStacks now, and that's because I got my new laptop that came in, which actually handles BlueStacks, playing Bloons TD6 on BlueStacks just fine. So long as I only have that game open and nothing else, like just listen OBS, my recording software by the way. It's just BlueStacks takes up so much of your CPU and RAM that you can't afford to have anything else open, or else lag is just gonna get the best of you. But yes, I'll take that trade-off any day of the week, because I definitely prefer playing here on my PC instead of on my mobile phone, which I have to cast to my PC to record. And that's why, like, you saw screen glitching in my previous BTD6 videos. And now with this recording, you won't have to experience any of that. But yeah, as you see, I got my permaspike at the back right now, 025. Also got MIB village over there. That will allow your Spike Factory to pop lead balloons, which by the way is 100% necessary. If you don't get that, you're gonna die, because like the DDTs are just gonna eat up all the spikes, and your Spike Factory can't do anything against it. Either that, or you could get a 205 Spike Factory, but I personally prefer the 025, just because it shoots out more spikes and gives you more popping power overall. So with that said, that's pretty much all you have to do for this map. I mean, I got another Dark Knight up at the front just because, as well as another Alchemist, just to make sure like all my strong towers are buffed. You see I got another Alchemist right on the top of that 5th tier heli pilot over there. Finally making a use out of like the extra land you get from that upgrade. Like you see, I got an Alchemist over there also buffing another aircraft carrier I have on the very top. But again, I'm pretty sure that's not very necessary because my Spike Factory Permaspike at the back there will basically handle any amount of balloon, so long as the towers at the front have damaged them enough. So yes, that pretty much does it for me over here. Now if you're still here listening to me at this point, I want to know, do you guys want to see more CHIMPS maps? Because I'm definitely down for a challenge where I tackle on like the intermediate and advanced CHIMPS maps. I believe those are beatable. Some people have already posted videos on some of the advanced maps, so I'm definitely down to play some of those CHIMPS maps if you guys want to see them. And hopefully that'll help you out as well. I mean, I'm currently working on Rake CHIMPS, which some of you may have known. So if you want to see that, drop a like, drop a comment. That'll do it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. See you guys in the next BTD6 video.